Hi, I'm Catherine McLean, founder and CEO of Dylan Green, and today I have with me Lori Bilella. They are the Director of Clean Energy Services at Ava in Northern California.
That's right, Bay Area.
The Bay Area. Awesome. So thank you for joining me today. First, congrats on your new role at Ava Community Energy, formerly East Bay Community Energy. Can you please introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your current role?
Sure. Thanks, Catherine. Thank you so much for having me here. It's so exciting to talk with you about Ava today. I recently joined Ava at the end of last year. I'm as you said, the Director of Clean Energy Services, which is such an exciting opportunity. We're doing such innovative things at Ava as a local community choice aggregator for Alameda County, and now we're moving into San Joaquin County. We're doing incredibly impactful work right at the local level, and it's really a dream of mine to be a part of this team. I'm overseeing a group of folks within Ava that are bringing innovative business models, if you will, to our customers, which might be a little surprising to hear that coming from a public nonprofit. But I think that really speaks to the innovative mentality that we have at Ava. We certainly offer traditional utility programs that you see in other utilities, like incentive programs and other ways that we support our customers. Of course, our core business is we provide electricity to Alameda County and parts of San Joaquin County. But because we're a nonprofit, any excess proceeds that we generate, we can reinvest into the community to create benefits. And we do that in a lot of different ways, and I'm excited to talk to you about that today. My team specifically, though, we're really focusing on trying to help our customers electrify everything, which is a key strategy to combating climate change. And so we're developing all sorts of innovative offerings around transportation, electrification, renewable energy, battery storage, resiliency, as I said, it's a real dream to be leading this team.
So you double majored in mechanical engineering and science, technology, and society. I've never heard of that degree. It sounds so interesting. With a focus in product development. I believe you then began working in solar sales and technical design right out of college. Did you always know that you wanted to work in clean energy? Like, how did you make your way into the industry?
Yeah, for sure. Well, saying my undergrad degrees is kind of a blast from the past at this point, because at this point, I've been working in the solar energy industry for 20 years. Wow. I got into it while still in school, actually. I actually started working on some wind projects in undergrad. But when I was in school, one of the classes I took in science, technology, and society, I first learned about the severity of climate change, which is kind of shocking in the early 2000s. It still hadn't really made an impression on me until I took this class. But really hearing about, the work we had to do to really course correct, all the work that's been, all the damage that's been done over the last 100 years of the Industrial Revolution, it became very clear to me that my life's work and my purpose is to help with the fight for climate change. And so I was originally from New Jersey, and after I graduated school, I wanted to go back to where I was from. And believe it or not, at the time in the early 2000s, New Jersey had the second largest solar energy industry, second to California, largely because of the renewable portfolio standard, which has become a very important mechanism that states use to create solar industries. And so when I graduated, I contacted all the solar energy companies that I could get a hold of and offer my newly achieved engineering degree and ask for a chance to learn about this important field. And thankfully, I got connected with a great small firm, AE Solar, Dan Lickman, my first manager, boss, and mentor. Which I've been so grateful and lucky to have wonderful mentors throughout my career. And he really showed me the way. And yes, I started out in residential sales, going to people's homes and putting up ladders and climbing on their roofs and measuring them out to see what kind of solar we could put up there. And then this was actually one of my most rewarding jobs, because then I could come down the ladder and sit at the kitchen table with my clients and explain to them how this stuff works and how it's going to create benefits for them and why they should care. and really shepherd them through the process. And I would say that
Mhm.
really shaped the way I've approached talking about this stuff and contributing to this field throughout my career, because never have I thought of it as sales.
Right.
If anything, I've
Right.
been like a solar evangelist.
Right.
We're
That's how a
all,
true salesperson is, though. Like it's just comes natural, you know?
yeah, and we're all in this together, and I think we
Yeah.
continue to have that mentality within Ava, to really combat climate change and course correct the way we need to. We all have to pitch in and do our part. And,
Right.
different organizations can provide different ways to help us collectively move along. And I think at Ava, we see ourselves, or we want to become a trusted advisor to our customers to help
Right.
them along this journey, because our customers have to make decisions in their homes, in their lives, to support, the kind of tech and transformation we need to see to combat climate change. And that's a big ask. And so we are
Right.
really uniquely positioned to help our customers along this journey. And we really hope to build trust with our customers to help them in the most easeful way possible and the most fun way possible, support this transition.
Right. There throughout your career, have there been any barriers you faced? Like, and if so, like, how did you overcome them?
Yeah, no, thanks for that, Catherine. I mean, I think coming up within my career, like any young professional, I was always asking myself, how do I show up? How am I going to be professional, Lori? I think as a queer non-binary person, I had other elements of my identity that are more marginalized, and I had less role modeling there, that I definitely struggled with how do I bring those pieces. And I think I really attribute, I said it previously, where I've been able to achieve what I have and get to where I have, in large part because of wonderful mentors that I've had throughout my career that really invited me to bring my full self and to
Right.
integrate all the parts of my life into just one Lori, and bring that Lori to work, because that's the best Lori. And that version of me really can provide the most value to anything I'm working on. And so while I do think that was a challenge, it's become like one of the most rewarding challenges of my life, because I
Mhm.
really learned how to weave all the parts of me into one person, that whether I'm at work or home in the community with my friends, I'm the same Lori. And
Right.
now being in a position where I'm leading a team, I'm a senior leader within an organization, I get the humble, you know, invaluable, rewarding opportunity to then offer that same invitation to
Right.
those around me. And I can tell you from firsthand experience, I bring my best when I'm not distracted by all of these, different pieces and parts of what's allowed and what isn't. When I can just show
Yep.
up and focus on this incredible challenge that is solving climate change, I bring my best work. And I want my team to do the same, whether it's they're men, they're women, they're queer, they're people of color. It really doesn't matter what it is. It's if there's parts of them that they haven't been, that there hasn't been representation and they haven't been invited to bring into work. I want to invite that all, because that's who we are, right? And we need all of our parts to bring our best work. And so,
Yeah.
very grateful for this challenge that I've had.
Yeah, I think that's really well said. Um, you've previously worked for several solar companies, including Soltage. You also worked for Black Veatch. Why did you decide to switch to Ava Community Energy, like which is a community choice aggregator for people who don't know, like outside of California? And like, what are you most excited about working on at Ava this year?
Yeah, no, thanks, Catherine. Yeah, I've had such a rewarding career. I've really worked in all aspects of the solar energy industry. As I said, I started in residential, I moved in
Hmm.
commercial industrial. When I was at Black and Veatch, I worked on some of the largest solar projects throughout the world. I've been able to, work on commercializing, developing new technologies and products.
Right.
I've traveled around auditing manufacturing facilities. I've really had such an interesting career, and I'm so grateful to the solar energy industry. Um, and I'm proud to say, when I first got into it 20 years ago, it needed so much help. We were really legitimizing a new technology.
Right.
20 years ago, people didn't think this was going to be able to, solar was not going to be able to be a legit,
Right.
energy generation source. And now it's growing and becoming one of the largest, and it's critical to, the future of our energy makeup.
Hmm.
And so I guess I felt like I kind of did the job that I set out to do.
Yeah.
And yet we're still so far behind on achieving our climate change targets, right? And so when I looked at what needs help now, it became really apparent to me that electrifying everything is really a critical strategy that is kind of far behind. And you can think about electrifying the transportation sector, which is electric vehicles, our just day-to-day cars, medium heavy duty trucks, to then electrifying the built environment,
Right.
shifting from like gas furnaces to heat pumps and induction cooktops instead of gas stoves, which is, that's very controversial. People love their gas stoves.
I'm
Um,
not going to
and
comment on
right,
that.
let's talk about it. We're doing some good stuff.
I switched to an EV last year.
Congratulations. They're so fun to drive, right?
But I do love my gas stove. I do.
I know.
It's hard.
We're gonna get everyone there little by little, right? And we can talk about some cool stuff we're doing with induction cooktop stoves
Yeah.
at Ava. But I think that so when I really wanted to focus in on electrification, I thought who's really in a unique position to move the needle there, and I felt that utilities really were, right?
Yeah.
Because we're utilities are sort of at the intersection of energy generation and energy procurement and really driving the demand for renewable energy, but then we're also interacting with customers, right? And so we can
Right.
use that relationship to help move our customers along the journey as well. And Ava in
Right.
particular, as I've said several times, is doing this work in a very, very innovative thought
Mhm.
leadership type of way.
Right.
And being a resident of Alameda County, I really wanted to work locally. I had the great benefit to work on a solar and battery storage policy for Alameda County at my previous company,
Mhm.
Soltage. And I really got involved in what the public process looks like.
Mhm.
And it's hard, and it needs people to jump in and be creative and try to bring solutions to the table. And, Ava being a public nonprofit that serves Alameda
Mhm.
County and San Joaquin County, that is a utility, it was sort of the perfect place for me. And
Yeah.
a really exciting next step for me in my career.
For those who aren't familiar, can you explain what a community choice aggregator is and why they're important? And then
Yeah,
also, I'd be interested to know more about the projects and programs that you're taking into account in underserved communities within your remit.
absolutely. So, community choice aggregator, a CCA, it's a local not-for-profit public agency that's responsible for electricity generation within their service territory. We're
Mhm.
essentially a public alternative to, here in California, investor-owned utilities.
Right.
That creates a lot of value for customers because our motivation is to maximize value for our customers, not maximize profits. And so with that, we get to do all kinds of interesting things that directly translate to benefit for our customers. For example, our Bright Choice renewable energy or Bright Choice electricity product, rather, that our customers can subscribe to. It consists of 50% renewable energy, and traditionally, historically, it's been about 5% cheaper than PG&E's electricity product for our customers. And our product has a much higher component of renewable energy. It's about
Right. Right.
30% compared to 50% in our product. We also
Wow.
have a renewable 100 product, which 100% of the electricity we procure with that product, it consists of wind and solar. It's marginally more expensive than the base rate of PG&E, but it's an option for our customers. And that's really, I think, one of the powers of CCAs. We get to make these choices around the kind of energy we're going to procure
Yeah.
that can be in more alignment with our customers' values.
Right.
So I think that's first and foremost. Another thing that we get to do as a CCA is any surplus profits from our operation, we can put directly back into our customers. And we've done that from directly sending them checks at the end of the year. And we just sent many checks out to our customers. I believe our care customers got around $50 checks at the end of the year, which was just us taking our profits and giving it to some of our most marginalized communities are customers that need the most support. So really
I'm
proud.
just, I'm just laughing. Like if Dominion Power, like if Dominion Energy ever sent me a check, I would be like, I'm so confused.
Right? And in some ways I think our customers still are. And that's this conversation that we're in constant development with our customers. Like, who are we and why do we matter to you? And
Right.
and it's again, it's building that trust. And so I can tell you it's in the ethos of Ava to create customer benefits and maximize the benefits to our customers. And I think the work that my group is doing is another example of the kind of benefits we provide our customers. So on the one hand, we have a team within the local development group, which is what my team is a part of.
Right.
We do incentives just like other utilities, right? We will give, if you apply, we can send you checks to subsidize the cost of a heat pump hot water heater or an e-bike, for example. And we have energy efficiency programs at no cost to our commercial customers that we can go in and we can audit your facilities and come up with roadmaps for our customers to optimize their operations. I think that's pretty typical of utilities. But then we're doing really interesting things that my group is leading around the innovative business model perspective, or innovative delivery model is probably the better word for it, like our DC fast charging network, which is a really exciting project that we are spearheading within Ava. It's been under development for several years, and we've come to a very exciting moment where we're actually starting to develop out public DC fast chargers, with our first one coming online later this year and several more coming on throughout next year and the year beyond. And the theory behind that, or the thesis of that, was about 40% of Alameda County residents are renters. About 37% of Alameda County housing is multifamily housing. And in both sectors, less than 10% of the people that live in those settings are registered EV drivers. And so we saw a disconnect there. And so through our research, obviously the cost of electric vehicles are higher than gas vehicles. And that's not something that Ava can necessarily solve right now. But the second reason that people have a hard time adopting electric vehicles is access to charging. If you own a single family home, you could put a charger in your home and you could charge at home, and then you get rid of that risk. But for residents of multifamily housing, which a good chunk of those are renters, they can't just install that infrastructure. They have to rely on the building owner to do it, or the HOA to approve it, which is clearly not happening, or they have to go out in the world and charge. And if you look at, the current available public charging infrastructure, it's not all that great.
Slow.
It's slow. It often doesn't work. And then what do? You run out of charge. Who's going to buy an electric vehicle with those circumstances? And so Ava looked at that problem and said, that's something we could help solve. And so we entered into a very, very interesting innovative agreement. It's called a tolling agreement with private sector partners that are actually going to procure the equipment, develop out sites, install them and operate them on our behalf. And the sites are actually in our municipal customers' public lots, public parking lots. And we've cited these sites in multifamily hotspots, if you will. So all of our chargers are going to be walkable to multifamily housing, or within 1 minute drivable to multifamily housing. And they're surrounded by all sorts of amenities, local businesses, and they're going to be well lit and they're going to be safe. And within the contract we have with our private developers, they're going to be available most of the time. That means they're going to be working when you go. And then as a nonprofit, the cost of electricity at the pumps, if you will, are going to be cheaper because we don't have to make a profit. We need to help people adopt electric vehicles. That's our role.
Right.
And so, we're actively developing out this project. I'm super proud of this project. It's first of its kind, and it's a blueprint for other municipalities, utilities, any organization to follow to help deploy this infrastructure faster and in a way that's more reliable, that customers can trust and actually adopt EVs, which is really at the that's our fundamental goal with this, to help drive.
I wanted to switch now to talking a little bit about NREL. So, and Ava continues to track toward 100% carbon-free power by 2030. NREL has also named Ava one of the top green power producers in the whole country. How was Ava able to achieve this, and what can other providers learn from you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a top priority for Ava to provide,
Mhm.
cost efficient renewable power to our customers.
Mhm.
We have a target that's way more accelerated in terms of achieving 100% renewable energy than
Right,
at the state level.
right.
By 2030 to be 100% renewable energy. That really speaks to our mission as an organization, and
Mhm.
again, alignment with our customers' value. I mean, we represent the East Bay, we represent San Joaquin County. These are areas where, on some hands, it's progressive thought leadership around adoption of renewable energy. It's also areas that are exposed to incredibly dangerous greenhouse gas emissions, right? Like
Right.
within our service territory, we have the Port of Oakland and the Port of Stockton.
Mhm.
And so, we have all sorts of emissions that are that create risks for our customers' health.
Right.
And so, we see this in two ways, right? We want to electrify everything, which is good for our customers' health. It's ultimately
Mhm.
going to be lower cost. And we
Mhm.
want to power all those electrical devices with renewable energy,
Right.
locally where we can and more broadly where we can't. But, because we are sort of at the procurement stage of thing and also
Mhm.
interacting with our customers, we can really provide turnkey solutions that provide the maximum benefits to our customers and really have significant positive impacts around combating climate change.
I want to talk next about Forum Mobility Partnership. Ava recently provided $4.5 million in financing to Forum Mobility, which is the zero emission truck solution provider, to support the development of innovative electric truck charging depot in Livermore, California. Can you talk a bit more about this partnership and the new rules in California requiring zero emission fleets by 2035?
Absolutely. Thanks for asking this question. There's some really interesting rules that have been passed at the state of California that's going to heavily influence transportation electrification. The California Air Resources Board in August 2022 approved this landmark plan to end the sale of gasoline-only passenger cars and trucks in the state by 2035. Um, so there's also been the passage of the Advanced Clean Fleets regulation, which basically means California needs to install biblical amounts of charging infrastructure. Just one stat there is, an average of 53 medium to heavy duty chargers a day, every day, through 2030 will need to be installed to meet this. And after that, the average goes up to 200 a day for the next 15 years. This is something that just hasn't been done before. And in some ways, we get to pull on the lessons we learned in commercializing new technologies like the solar energy industry now here with electric vehicles. And so specifically with the Forum deal, there's a lot of new technology that deal
Yeah.
requires.
You know what I think of when you say that? The first thing that pops into my head, jobs.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
A lot of jobs.
A lot of jobs. First, I mean, that's a given, right?
Yeah.
And I appreciate you raising it because there are a lot of jobs with electrifying everything. I think with for mobility, one of the problems we were trying to solve there was helping to de-risk the new technology that was going
Right.
to need to be installed. And the way we could do that was through a very low interest loan, right? By
Right.
reducing the cost of the capital, the assumptions on how the equipment is going to get used to recoup the investment don't have to be as aggressive. Um, and that removes a barrier for the developers to actually put up the capital, put up the effort, and build these projects. One of the things that happens in a project like this, it's kind of a build it and they will come mentality. The wait for medium heavy duty trucks, zero emission vehicles, could be 2 years. So to meet the charging infrastructure that's needed for those vehicles, we have to start building projects now, even though
Right.
the vehicles aren't on the road. For traditional
Right.
investors, that's a scary scenario that most
Hmm.
private sector investors are not going to want to put their money into. And, Ava, being a community organization, one that wants to, leverage our position within all of this to
Right.
create safer, cleaner communities for our customers, we thought it was a really good use of the money we're making to put up a project like this that's going to lead to deploying lots of zero emission vehicles on highway corridors coming to and from the ports of Oakland and the port of Stockton,
Hmm.
and that travels right through our communities, largely disadvantaged communities, marginalized
Right.
communities that, just because of where they live, they're having a disproportionate higher exposure to these emissions. And so
Sure.
there's
Sure. Just air quality. Right.
exactly.
Right.
So there's so many levels of benefit by doing this. And it really is a great example
Yeah.
of a way that Ava can uniquely contribute to solving some of these problems and accelerating the adoption of these technologies.
Mhm. I would be remiss if I didn't ask about remiss. That's a word I use all the time. Um,
Okay.
thank you, Lisa. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about the resource adequacy RA, which is still quite a hot topic. Can you explain what RA is, some of the challenges CCAs face in meeting RA requirements, and how AVA is addressing these?
Absolutely. So resource adequacy
Mhm.
is essentially a tool that's used to ensure that energy demands are met when and how they're needed. Um, Ava has a whole energy procurement team that focuses on procuring our solar and wind and other resources to
Mhm.
meet our
Mhm.
customer loads and demands. And within that team, we have people specifically focused on resource adequacy. That's traditional utility day-to-day operations. We have compliance requirements, we meet those requirements, we have year ahead planning. It's pretty traditional stuff. I think what's interesting to bring up here with you, Catherine, is that, a lot of time resource adequacy is tied to peak demands.
Right.
And
Mhm.
if you look at the generation resources that are needed, or that are traditionally used to meet those demands, they're some of the worst greenhouse gas emitting ones, right? Fossil
Right.
fuel, combined cycle, gas plants. They operate in a particular way that you can turn them on, you can turn them off, and they're mostly sitting there, other than meeting these demand moments. But with the new technologies, especially with electrifying everything, and other innovations such as virtual power plants, which I can talk a little bit about, we are actually in a place right now where we can move away from that, and we can move towards a real scenario where we can power our grid with 100% renewable energy,
Mhm.
especially here in California, where we just have an
Right.
abundance of solar energy. What the challenge when it comes to resource adequacy is, when we have this surplus generation of solar, it's not at the same time of day when we have these peak demands. And so one strategy that's been used to date is deploying bulk battery storage, right? You generate the solar energy, you don't need it in that moment, you dump them into a battery, and then at night when everybody comes home from work, you draw on that
Right.
battery, and that's how you can power this whole state with solar energy. The thing
Mhm.
is, batteries are expensive, and to deploy batteries just for this purpose, um, it's really not any more efficient than deploying a combined cycle gas plant. Um, and when we electrify everything and we control it with smart controls, we don't actually have to do that anymore. And so, if you think about it, there's a battery in every electric vehicle.
Mhm.
We can actually use the batteries in electric vehicles to meet resource adequacy needs. And that is something that Ava is currently in the process of testing out. This is one of our most exciting initiatives. We recently had a bid out for a distributed energy resource management platform, and a managed charging provider specifically, and that speaks to the electric vehicles. And basically what that system is going to do, and it's something we're going to be testing out over the next couple of years and rolling out to scale ideally over time, is every electric vehicle driver within our service territory can opt into a program with us. We'll pay them to do that. Just by registering in our program, we can send them a check every month or every year for their participation. To participate in the program, we're going to ask from them that they charge their car in at particular times of the day, or that they don't, they don't, right? In fact, we're actually saying just plug your car in and we'll handle the charging for you. And when we can do that, we can actually use the batteries in these electric vehicles to absorb surplus solar generation in the middle of the day. And then when people come home and they plug them back into the grid, we can take that battery storage and meet peak demands at night. And then when everybody goes to bed, we can charge those batteries back up with super cheap electricity. And that is the core components of what we would call a virtual power plant. You're going to aggregate all of these different electric resources through control systems to provide the same function, but in a very efficient and in a way that creates benefits for our customers, as in they get paid to do it. And so it's very exciting. You could take it a step further, and you could also send signals of when to operate and when not to operate with anything electrified. So any kind of heat pump technology, smart thermostat, and we're actively starting to work on that in Ava, which is really exciting. And again, it provides a blueprint, I think, to other utilities that we're happy to share, so we can accelerate the adoption of these innovative technologies that really are speaking to like the core of the things we need to do to combat climate change.
And you've recently contracted with Clearway Energy Group to purchase power from Daggett Solar plus storage project, which uses technology from Wartsila NEXTracker and JA Solar, among others. Ava also recently contracted with Intersect Power on a 500 megawatt solar and storage project in Riverside County. What are some of the other recent solar and storage projects that you're contracted with?
Yeah, thanks for bringing those up. I mean, those are great examples of large utility scale solar and battery storage projects that we're making very big commitments to. The project with Intersect is actually in our service territory, which is incredibly unique and valuable to our customers. I think another project that I'd like to bring to light is actually at the local level in our Resilient Critical Municipal Facilities Initiative. And so we actually put a solicitation out to private sector companies to bring microgrid solutions at specific critical facilities across all of our member jurisdictions. Firehouses, police stations, medical facilities, libraries, places where if there's some kind of natural disaster, these can be resiliency hubs for our communities. And so the value in this, and I think the unique thing that Ava brings to the table, is we leveraged our relationships with all of our municipalities so that we could go out to the market and offer a single contracting entity, Ava, to contract with and to get access through us to 13 jurisdictions. Without us, private sector customers or private sector developers would have to contract with 13 companies. The transaction costs, the operational complexities of that, it makes projects like this impossible. These are not big projects. These are small projects. These are projects on rooftops. These are carport projects. And so by Ava taking 60 projects across 13 jurisdictions and putting them under one contract, we're actually able to attract private sector capital that then comes in and provides these invaluable resources to our communities. And the communities don't have to put the money out up front, which they can then use their budgeting dollars to provide other benefits and services to their customers.
No, it's really clever, really innovative.
Yeah. So I couldn't agree more, Catherine.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all this with us. Really appreciate it, and all the work that you're doing within the industry. I think it's fantastic.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you highlighting all the great work that we're doing in the field as well. Thanks for having me on the podcast today.
Great.